G'day, my name's Brent. Today I'm running an example of play for Magic Realm. It's a solo 1 month game for the captain character using Robin Warren's wonderful Java application Realmspeak. The only optional rule that I'm using that might be of relevance to gameplay is Watchful Natives. The captain. The captain is my favourite Magic Realm character and has been since I started playing Magic Realm as a kid in the 1980s. I really just think I loved him then because of his artwork, my favourite artwork for the game. I had no idea how to play him back then. I died almost all of the time, but it didn't diminish my devotion to the character. He's doesn't look like a classic fantasy character at all. There's something vaguely exotic about him, something classical or Eastern about his arms and armour. He looks more RuneQuest than D&D for the more discerning of 80s role-playing veterans out there. There's no full-body plate mail and a visor like the Glamour Boys, the White Knight and Black Knight have. He doesn't need to cover his face with a visor. He's a lean, mean fighting machine, and there's something of the Brad Pitt and Troy about him. I suspect he's a real hit with the lady camp followers. But best of all, he's got the coolest combat stance in the realm. Really looks like he's ready for action. Either that, or I guess it's also possible he looks like that because the military camp diet of beans and cabbage doesn't agree with him. Anyway, enough of my adoration for the captain. We'll get on to actually discussing the character. As I said, I never used to know how to play him, and I've spent a lot of time playing him more recently, and I've discovered a number of hidden depths to the captain that weren't at first apparent. And that's one of those wonderful things about this great game, that those levels of depth and strategy that have been built into it by the designers can become evident, and you realise what a rich and deep game it is, and that comes to you through gameplay. It's really very exciting. The captain's symbol is military, is the chevron, which means military leadership, and that's actually a clue to how he might best be played. I've done a bit of reading around recently, and everything I'm about to say is actually very nicely summarised by Steve McKnight in his excellent Magic Realm for Beginners strategy articles for the fighter characters, and I can really recommend going and looking at those, particularly the captain, who he's hit the nail right on the head for. One of the keys to playing the captain is the fact that he's got a choice of starting locations. He's only one of two characters who can start at as a choice of three starting locations, the other being the wizard. And the thing about the captain's starting locations, the house and the guard in particular, are that he can start there with native groups with whom he is friendly. The soldiers at the house and the guard at the guardhouse. So if he starts in one of those locations, he's actually with natives with whom he's friendly. And the issue there is, of course, is that he can start dealing with them straight away. He can start trading or hiring from day one. Other characters who deal with hide natives, perhaps the Black Knight, for example, who is allied with the company, can often wait round day after day, waiting for a monster die roll of 1 for his allies to turn up to hire them. The captain doesn't have to do that. He can get straight onto it. I'd also note that the soldiers and guard are quite small, very affordable groups to hire, so that makes them also very, very useful friends for the captain. So that's a key to playing his character. Just looking at the rest of him, his special advantages are not terribly special. The aim special advantages, subtracting 1 from all missile table die rolls. Very rare that the captain will get his hands on a missile weapon in a 1 month solo game of Magic Realm. It's not impossible. Anything can happen in the realm, as we all know, but it's very rare that that will come into play. Reputation, he will get some use out of because he starts at dwelling, obviously, and will be spending some time at dwellings. But that extra phase is not usually a game breaker. I've remember maybe 1 or 2 games where that bonus phase was the make or break for me actually winning the game. but it doesn't happen very often. It's just a nice little added bonus, but his special advantages are not on a par with some of the special advantages that some of the other characters have. I don't use the optional advantage of leadership. I do think it's a bit too strong. He's nicely armoured. He's got a helmet, breastplate and shield, which makes him quite tough and will allow him to survive a number of tough encounters. He has a nice selection of move and fight chits. In particular, he's got these nice fast medium 3 fight and move chits. He also has some heavy fight chits which will allow him to overswing weapons to do a decent amount of damage. Unfortunately, this is where the captain is let down because his starting weapon is a very poor one. He starts with a short sword, which is light +1 sharpness star, and that makes his heavy fight chits essentially irrelevant because they're an excessive overswing for that short sword. They make no difference using a heavy fight chit over a medium fight chit when using the short sword. And he's limited with that short sword to killing medium or heavy unarmoured monsters. Any other monsters in the game, probably the other 70% of monsters in the game are out of his reach, which makes him very vulnerable, and really his first order of business is to try and get his hands on a better weapon, and that's what we're going to do straight up. He's one of 3 starting location choices. My preference is the guard. I'll explain that when we get into the first turn. For victory points, I'm going to record fame and notoriety. 3 fame, 2 notoriety rounds out my 5 victory points for a 1 month game. 3 fame is going to require 30 fame points. 2 notoriety is going to require 40 notoriety points. Gold I'd like to keep for hiring and trading. Usable spells are no use, and I'm not a big fan of Great Treasures because I think it's too luck-based. And fame and notoriety I think are appropriate choice of victory points for a hero who has aspirations to military leadership. So we're going to go with that. I'll just place visitor and mission chits randomly, and we're into it. Day 1, week 1. Okay, we're down here with the guard house in the southern end of the realm. Not a bad starting position. We can get up into a couple of adventure sites here, the ledges and the high pass, very mountainous, but once we're through there we can really get up into the ruins and borderland deep woods. So there's a number of adventure sites we can get into from here. I always also look for where the house and the soldiers are. They're rather a long way away. We can get there, but because they're also friends, if I manage to get into that area, they might be someone I consider dealing with. Good. All right, we'll get started. The very first thing, as I've said, I want to do is to get hold of a better weapon, and that would be a medium weapon that I can overswing to do better damage. And that's the primary reason I like starting in play with the guard, because they're the custodians of the medium weapons. Maces, axes, and the broadsword. I'm going to try and get my hands on a axe, because it's the cheapest of all of them. It only costs 4 gold, and I'm not starting with much gold, only 10 gold, so I'd like to get a hold of a 4 gold axe. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. The other reason I like starting at the guardhouse is that the only wandering native who might turn up there are the patrol, and they're also friendly with me. So I'm in no danger at the guardhouse. I could spend my entire month here, unhidden, drinking with my mates. I wouldn't get much done in the way of adventuring or achieving victory points, but I'd be very safe here. It is a safe haven for me, and I can always return here if I get into trouble. Interestingly, at the house where the soldiers are, the woodsfolk can turn up, and they're unfriendly with me. So there's an element of danger in hanging around the house. Not that that would stop us from going there. It doesn't mean we shouldn't go there, and that might well happen, but certainly I'm not. There is some danger in hanging out at the house. All right, first thing I need to do is get hold of an axe, and to do that I'm going to record some trade phases. I want to make sure I get that today so I can get off and get started with my adventuring. So I'm going to record 5 trade phases. Remember, I get that extra phase handily while I'm in a dwelling. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, if we look on the meeting table, which is what I'll be trading on, at the moment I have 10 gold kitty and the axe is worth 4 gold. I would need price by 2, which is a roll of 3 or less, which is about a 20 to 25% chance each roll that I'm going to achieve that. If I move up to price by 3, I'll need a 4 or less, and I'm going to significantly increase my chance of buying that axe this turn. To do that, I'm going to have to get an extra 2 gold to get up to 12 gold for price by 3, so I'm going to have to sell something, and that's what I intend to do. I should note that you can always buy drinks for natives you're trading with or dealing with on a meeting table to go up to the next level of friendliness on the table, which would mean ally here. And the guard are pretty cheap drunks. They only cost 3 gold. There are only 3 of them. But as if you look at those tables, it doesn't really make a difference which one I roll on, because I need price by 3 or less, and for that 3 gold I'm not going to get much of an advantage between those 2 tables. I'm happy with price by 3 or price by 2. I might as well stay rolling on the friendly table. If I keep spending 3 gold on drinks every turn, my kitty's going to get whittled away fairly quickly and I won't be able to get a hold of the axe. So no drinks for my mates, unfortunately. Good, those 5 trade phases. The first one I record is going to have to be a sell, because I'm going to have to get that extra 2 gold I need to go for price by 3. And of course what I'm going to sell is the short sword. As I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of it, and I won't need it if I manage to get my hands on an axe. That will give me 4 gold to put my kitty up to 14, which will let me get the axe for price by 3. So short sword sold. I have 14 gold. Now we'll buy from the guard HQ. Let's see what we've got here. Alright, I'll look at the treasures in a moment. They of course have a helmet there and a breastplate, so they've got some replacement armour if I want to come back for it. I'm going for the axe because it's the cheapest of those medium weapons. With that medium plus 1 sharpness star, I can overswing with a heavy chit to actually do tremendous damage, so I can actually threaten tremendous monsters who are unarmoured and heavy armoured monsters, which I couldn't do with the short sword. So that's really going to step up my killing potential. Good weapon for me. The other weapons they have, if we look at the broadsword, it's almost identical to the axe. It's got a 5 fight time on its unalerted side, medium plus 1 sharpness star. The difference, of course, is the weapon length. The broadsword has that nice long weapon length of 7 over the weapon length of the axe, which is 2. That's particularly important in the first round of combat, where longer weapon lengths hit first. But it costs 8 gold, and I would have to get price by 1 with my current kitty for that, which is I can't do on the friendly table. And I'm going to, for almost the same stats, I'm going to get much better bang for buck out of the axe. The mace is a very desirable weapon. It doesn't look like much with its medium with no sharpness star, but anyone who's played the Black Knight will know how fantastic that alerted fight time of 3 is. Particularly against heavy armoured monsters. I would really love the mace as a secondary weapon, but it's a little bit out of my price range at the moment. And if I bought it first up, I wouldn't be able to threaten tremendous monsters because it doesn't have that extra sharpness star that the axe has got. The treasures, just for reference, the dragon essence. It only costs 3 gold and it provides purple magic, which doesn't mean much. This smoke chit will summon dragons. Not really keen to do that quite yet. The lost keys are interesting though. They open the chest, the crypt and the vault, none of which I can do on my own, and nothing will open the chest except the lost keys. It's a treasure within treasure. If I come across any of these, it might be worth remembering that the guard have these lost keys, because they'd be worth buying. Having said all of that, the axe is what I'm going for. So I have my kitty. I'm not buying drinks. Price by 2, straight up. That's the best result I could get on the friendly table, so I bought the axe straight away. That's excellent. 8 gold. I'll buy it straight away. No, I've actually got 3 trade phases left and I still have 6 gold. The only thing I can get for even price by 2 is the dragon essence, and I'm not terribly keen to carry around something that's going to summon dragons quite yet. So I'm going to leave that there. Interestingly, I should note that because it's one of the 5 items that actually bears colour magic, it's activated immediately, and it will be activated now that I've seen it. It's going to be activated for the rest of the game. So wherever Guard HQ goes, that purple magic chip will go summoning dragons. If I actually come back and hire the guard, that might be very handy, because once I've hired the guard, we might be off hunting monsters like dragons, and it might be very handy walking around with a smoke chit to actually summon them. So that's interesting, because that's now going to stay face up. Purple magic everywhere, which isn't particularly relevant to me. I don't necessarily want to buy that. Let's try for the lost keys. It's not going to. Well, let's try for the mace. I've got 6 gold, but price by 1 is going to be a very limited chance. I'd have to get an opportunity on the friendly table and then roll for price by 1 or a boon on the ally table. About a 1 in 10,000 chance. No. Price by 4. I can't. I've got the extra trade phases. I might as well try for it. I've recorded them. I can't use them for anything else, but I'm not going to get it. No deal. Mace. No gold. Type. Price by 4. Can't afford that. Doesn't matter. I have my axe. Now, one thing I forgot to do as soon as I picked it up, and I have been known to forget to do, is to activate the axe. Very easy to forget in the excitement of actually buying it. Of course, when you acquire an item, you can activate it straight away. You can activate it in the encounter phase of combat, which I've just done. There's a pseudo-combat created in every clearing, even if there's no actual fighting there. So I have an opportunity in that encounter phase to do that. And I can do it before any phase of any turn. But it is too easy to forget. And there's nothing more embarrassing than turning up to a fight with a giant, thinking your axe is ready, and finding out it's in your backpack, and that you're going to have to face him using bare-knuckle boxing. Giants don't tend to obey the Marquis of Queensberry rules, and it's not too surprising when you go up bare-knuckle boxing against a giant that the captain tends to lose. So I've activated the axe. We'll just skip through evening here. We're done. So good. First turn, mission accomplished. Managed to buy the axe, so we now can take on many more denizens than we could previously. And it's time to get out and adventure in the realm. I should mention that there is one viable strategy, is selling off everything you own, all of your armour and your weapon, and you might have enough gold to actually hire the guard straight up, which would have you leading a formidable but small force out into the realm straight away. Not a big fan of that. The guard are vulnerable. There are only 3 of them, and they can be killed. And if they are, you'll be left running around the realm in your birthday suit without any weapons. And that's not only embarrassing, but generally fatal. And I also feel that before I start leading men, I should go out and earn my stripes by killing off a few monsters and doing some looting myself. So I'll come back to the guard if I get an opportunity to later, when I've earned a bit of my reputation. Now, before we pass, I'm going to get out into the realm. I'm looking for adventure sites which might contain treasure and monsters, those being cave and mountain tiles. And there's one right next to us here, which is High Pass. It's mountainous, which is a little bit difficult to navigate our way through, because each mountain clearing costs 2 movement phases to move into. But I should check it out as we're passing. So I'm going to move into there, 1 phase into Pinewoods 4, 2 phases into High Pass. I get an extra phase to record because I started recording while I was at a dwelling, so I might as well record 2 hide phases. That will increase my probability of a successful hide this turn from 70% if we hit once to over 80% with a second hide. And moving into an unknown tile where dangerous opponents could be summoned, it's always wise to hide. Good, succeeded on that first hide, and we've moved up into High Pass. No monsters summoned to our clearing. Let's see what's there. A treasure site and a warning counter. Dank Sea is serpents. Heavy serpents who we can deal with. Tremendous armoured serpent who is out of our killing range, because we can only do heavy damage to him because of his armour. Cairns is a tremendous spider. The Cairns is quite a rich treasure site. It has 7 treasures. The only problem with the Cairns is it fatigues a chit every time you loot from it. It's a long way in. I'm going to have to spend a couple of days getting there. It's not a particularly attractive treasure site for me because of the fatiguing. And I'm going to be much more interested in finding treasure sites that might be easier to get to and cause me less fatigue. So I'm going to get out of there, and I'm going to move up into Ledgers 2. I've just said how important it is to hide getting into a new tile, but in this case I'm going to be stuck here in Pinewoods, and it's going to take me an extra day to get up into Ledgers and find out what's there, and I'm willing to take the risk that something might turn up here and not record a hide phase. It's a risky thing to do. Don't try this at home, but sometimes I think it's worth getting into a tile, discovering what's there and getting out again. And the shorter time you spend there, the less chance there is of summoning a monster. Monster die roll of 5. Let's find out what's in Ledgers. Nothing summoned to our clearing. Ooh. Okay. Smoke M. Smoke M's dragons. Horde is dragons. The Horde is the richest treasure site in the game, bar none. And I'd love to loot it. The only problem, of course, is that I'm heading across the high pass here. These paths underneath does not join, so to get to it I would actually have to come round through ruins, through Borderlands to get back to it. I think that's worth doing. It's a very, very potentially lucrative treasure site, and I would love to loot it. We might try to get through and see what's there. The other thing, of course, that can be summoned, that Horde is guarded by a tremendous flying dragon. He's tremendous and armoured. He's out of my killing range, as was the tremendous serpent. His armour will knock one sharpness star off my axe, and even overswung, the best I can do is heavy damage. The heavy flying dragons, there are 2 of them. That would be a dangerous fight, but I can take them. Despite their armour, I can overswing and do heavy damage against them. So I can kill those dragons if I meet them. But I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to move 2 into Ledgers 5, 1 into Evil Valley 4. Now, this is the one valley tile which is not safe. It contains some prowling monsters, which are ghosts. I would rather deal with them from hiding, so I am actually going to hide here for my last phase and hope I do get a hide. Successful hide, which I did. Successful hide on a roll of 2. And the ghosts are here. They're reasonably dangerous. They can do heavy damage, which would destroy my armour, any of my pieces of armour, and wound me. They've got a move time of 4, which I can undercut with one of my fight medium 3 chits, and they only do only have tremendous medium vulnerability, unarmoured, so they're actually quite easy to kill. On their flip side, they're very fast and maneuverable, but they only do light damage, which I'll completely shrug off with my armour. They're not worth much notoriety, but they're worth notoriety, and I'm here to get notoriety, and I think I can take them. What I want to do is try to undercut. I'm going to try and ambush them from hiding, which would be a free attack for me. I want to undercut that manoeuvre time of 4. I can't do that with my axe unalerted because it has a fight time of 5. So on this first round of combat in the encounter phase, I'm going to alert that axe. I can play a slow manoeuvre time to do that because those ghosts are not on my sheet. If they were on my sheet, to alert the axe I'd have to play a fight time of 3. Now I'm going to skip through this first round of combat. We can go into a second round of combat. Combat will last for 2 rounds without anything being fatigued, wounded or dying before combat ends. So I've got the luxury of waiting to this next round. The good thing about that is that if I miss, then combat will end and I'll have had a free ambush without threat of counterattack. I do think I'll be able to kill him, however. I've already got my axe alerted, so I go through that encounter step and I'll select one of the ghosts as a target. I immediately become unhidden, but he doesn't get an attack on me. because I've attacked from hiding and he wasn't on my sheet during the encounter step. Now, it's going to fatigue a 1 asterisk fight counter because I'm playing 2 asterisks, but I'm guaranteed to undercut that ghost if he stays on this side. If he changes tactics to his side that has a manoeuvre of 2, and there's a 30% chance of that happening, a die roll of 6 on the change tactics table. If he does that, then I'd need to intercept him, which is a 1 in 3 chance. There's a much higher chance that he'll stay on this side, that this attack will undercut him, and that it will kill him. He did change tactics. And flipped, I missed him. That's disappointing. I'll fatigue a 1 asterisk fight counter. Alright, I now have 2 of them to face. I'm not too worried about this ghost. If he doesn't change tactics again, he can't harm me because that light damage will bounce off my medium armour. And of course, damage has to be at least medium when it impacts armour to wound the character through armour, which that ghost can't do on this side. So I'm going to focus on dealing with the other ghost. Because I missed, my weapon stayed alerted, so I don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do is skip through the encounter phase, choose the more dangerous ghost as a target. Now, I wanted to attempt to undercut him. I do want to finish him off. Every round I leave it, that other ghost could change tactics and I could be facing 2 ghosts with heavy 4 attacks. So the only problem with that is I'm played 2 asterisks for effort, which is my limit for the turn. I'm restricted to a move 5 manoeuvre. I might as well not play a manoeuvre. They're going to undercut me whichever side they're on. So what I have to hope is that this ghost doesn't change tactics and that I'll undercut him and kill him before his fight time of 4. We're on the second or subsequent round of combat, so fastest fight times hit first. My 3 will beat his 4 before he even gets close to killing me. I'm not playing a manoeuvre. It's pointless in this situation. Not great either. They both flipped, so they've both undercut me because I played no manoeuvre at all, but those light 2 attacks just bounce off my armour. The ghost I was assigned to repositioned out of my away from me, so I didn't intercept him. This is getting comical. I didn't intercept him, which means I didn't hit him, and I couldn't undercut his manoeuvre time of 2, even with my best fight time of 3. The other ghost moved in here, but that doesn't mean anything because I wasn't assigning to attack him. So I'll have to fatigue a 1 asterisk fight counter again. They're making me look stupid. Anyway, they're not harming me. Now, there's a 70% chance that each of these guys will stay on these harmless sides. The problem with this side is I can't undercut them, but there's no point in my playing a fast fight. No point at all. So what I might as well do is play a move medium 4. Even if they flip to their heavy 4 attack side, they won't be able to undercut that move time, and because it's only 1 asterisk and I've played no effort asterisks for this fight counter, it won't matter. I won't have to fatigue this turn. Hoping I intercept that ghost. I didn't. They both repositioned, neither of them changed tactics, so they still don't harm me, but I'm still didn't hit either of them. If we have another turn of this, there will be no fatiguing or wounding or death. If that happened again, then the combat will end. I'm going to play exactly the same as I did before. Notice I'm putting my shield in front of my manoeuvre so that if one of them intercepts me, and they'd have to intercept me, they can't undercut me, but if they change tactics with enough with that heavy attack, that would be enough to destroy armour. So I'd rather destroy my shield than my breastplate, because my shield protects one direction, the breastplate protects 2. Okay, one of them did change tactics but didn't intercept me. He repositioned down to the smash box. The other one didn't change tactics but repositioned out of my direction of attack. So combat's going to end, and I've worked up a sweat and fatigued a few chits and not actually managed to kill the ghost. So I'm not going to bother going through that again. I'm going to try and get out of here. I'll move into ruins, and I'm going to hide there once and rest back one of those chits. Monster die roll of 2. We'll find out if that summons anything. We'll find out what the monster die roll is. When we find out what the chits are, sorry. Nothing summoned to my clearing. Okay, Bone C. Bone C is trolls. They're dangerous. I can take out the 2 heavy trolls, although it would be a risky combat. Tremendous Troll is very dangerous and out of my killing range. The pool is guarded by the Octopus, who's a tremendous monster. He's unarmoured, so medium +1 sharpness star of my axe overswung with a heavy fight chit could do tremendous damage to kill him. Although he's very fast and nimble. He's dangerous as a tremendous monster because if he hits me, he could very easily tear me to pieces on his red side up. The pool is a very good treasure site. 9 treasures, and you do have to fatigue to loot it. Just a bit different to the cans. You only have to fatigue if you draw treasures, not just every time you loot. But the big problem is it's in a cave clearing, and I'll be limited to 2 phases per turn, and that makes it particularly unattractive when the horde's sitting over here in the ledges. So I'm actually going to try and get through here. It's going to take me 2 phases. I'm going to be limited to 2 phases passing through this cave clearing. I could move in here and hide, then move out and hide, and then move on. That would be 3 days. And the longer I spend here, the more chance I have of summoning dangerous monsters. So I actually think I want to get out of here as quickly as possible, and I'm going to risk not hiding by trying to get through that cave clearing in 1 day. Day 6. Monster die roll of 6. Nothing summoned to my clearing, so that was a good move. Now, the next thing I want to do is get down into Borderlands, because I'm heading for this horde. So I'm going to move down, 3 into Borderlands, and hide here. Last day of the week. Successful hide. And what do we have here? Slither, Serpents and Dragons, Smoke, Dragons. No treasure sites here, so I'm not going to bother hanging around here. Alright, bit of an uneventful first week. The only combat I got into, I worked up a lather of sweat and achieved absolutely no results. The ghosts made an absolute fool of me. No harm was done to anyone. No harm was done to any ghosts in the making of this movie. I've found a few treasure sites and explored a few tiles, but I haven't encountered anything of significance. Not gained any treasures, not gained any money. I have gotten an axe from the guard, which was my original intention, but what I am doing is heading for a very lucrative treasure site here. So I'm going to finish this week almost getting into ledges. I'm going to attempt to loot the horde, and we'll see where things go from there. Thank you for watching for this first week, and hopefully we'll achieve a bit more in the second week. See you then.